Hey sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. Hope you all are doing great. Came across a video of a white woman talking about how aggressive black people are, especially black women. And she went on to say that you can make 100 videos and share black women up. But one thing she knows for sure is that they are very aggressive. And she said that everyone knows that is a lie, that black women are aggressive, that she grew up in a city around black women. And one thing I am going to tell you is that I am sure that this woman doesn't have any black friend, or she has never have something to do with black women. But you all already know how they roll. So there is also a video about a white woman. One thing is that they do not feel that black women deserve anything great, and black women shouldn't be in that light. When you are a shining light, they think the shine is only for them. It's just like what is going on with lOOMER and Jasmine Crockett, how she called Jasmine Crockett ghetto and all that. When you look around, you will actually see who the ghetto is from her face. Right? And the woman also talked about how, a black woman was so good at what she does, and she became very jealous at work. Now, check workspace, what black women have talked about when it comes to places of work with white women. Let's get into this.
Black women are not aggressive. You can say that all you want. You can make 1 million videos and they can get hundreds of thousands of views and everyone can cheer you on, and you can say they're not aggressive and everyone knows it's a lie. I grew up in a city around them, and out of every race, they were the most aggressive. Wow, black women don't like being called aggressive, do they?
Wow, if I belong to the demographic of females who, despite being the largest beneficiaries of DEI and affirmative action, but still always underperforming way behind black women, I would be intimidated by black women too. You guys also had a 400-year head start, and you are still performing at a rate that's less than mediocre than black women who are excelling in education, who are excelling in entrepreneurship, who are leaders of global social justice movements. I think it takes a certain level of aggressiveness to be that accomplished. This is coming from the same group of women who do not have the courage to stand up for themselves by walking into a private voting booth and voting to preserve their rights as women. They allow themselves to be used as tools by men of the patriarchy. It's because black women walk in their own power. White females, specifically white MAGA females like Pepper and mangled face lOOMER, are jealous because they do not. They are conditioned from birth to be male-centered. They are taught to compete against other women and tear down other women, to fight over crumbs of male approval like starving pigeons. They willingly shrink themselves as second-class citizens for the affections and approval of weak, less than mediocre white males who can't even compete on the rigged playing field they created for themselves. Black women are still beating them. Black women are competing on a level all their own, whether it's leading in higher education, leading in entrepreneurship, leading the global revolution, leading global trends in music, fashion, and culture. And on top of all of this, aging well. Conservative white females have only led in their own downfall and birthing the most mass shooters. They are their own worst enemy. They stand in their own way, and that's where their seething jealousy comes from. And to add insult to injury for them, the biggest insult is that black women are black. That's what burns them to their core, is knowing that every brutal attempt to break black women, every chain, every law, every insult, every barrier, only made black women more powerful. And no mangled face internet troll calling black women ghetto black bitches will ever change that, because the only thing ghetto is that face. For lOOMER and MAGA females, every inch of their relevance comes from men tossing them scraps. She has to sit, wait, and beg for a pat on the head, a pity title, or some hand-me-down position a man tosses her way. Jasmine Crockett commands respect off the strength of her own brilliance and accomplishments. You see lOOMER attacking Jasmine Crockett because she's black, attacking AOC because she gained some weight. She never comes for intellect, education, or accomplishments because she has none to compare. She attacks physical appearance because that's how conservative females measure success. But lOOMER doesn't even measure up to her own standard of success, and she knows it. That's why she keeps chopping up her face, desperately trying to measure up to that standard. But why doesn't she have that same energy for the surgeon who did that to her face? Because that is ghetto. Honestly, her surgeon deserves a medal for public service because they gave her the face that she deserves. So thank you, doctor. And their favorite dog whistle is to say that black women are too aggressive.
Black women are not aggressive. You can say that all you want. You can make a million videos and they can get hundreds of thousands of views and everyone can cheer you on. And you can say they're not aggressive and everyone knows it's a lie. I grew up in a city around them, and out of every race, they were the most aggressive.
Wow, black women don't like being called aggressive, do they?
And I can completely understand why the weakest females to walk this earth are intimidated by the women who walk in their own power.
You ain't demure, honey. You're diabolical. You ain't demure, you're them hands, baby. You ain't cutesy, you're petty. And that's all right, baby. That's okay. You loud. That's wonderful. I love it.
I have a theory about why black women and white women are having such a hard time getting along, and it starts with a story. When I first started teaching, I was in a teacher training program with 3 other women. 2 of them were black and 1 of them was Indian, and we started teaching at the same school, the same grade, at the same time. One of these women, a black woman, completely excelled. She did so much better than I did at literally everything. Classroom management, her test scores were high. She was excellent at literally everything. And something about her excellence didn't sit right with me. I just didn't feel good about it, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel good about it. It was internalized racism, but I didn't know that yet. So I had to sit with this idea of her being better than me and trying to figure out why it didn't feel good and feel comfortable for me. And of course, at the time, I didn't know that I needed to do the work of anti-racism, so I didn't think it was possibly because I could have internalized racism. I had to do a lot of study and thought about myself and what could possibly be making me feel this way about this woman. And here's what I discovered. Most of the media that I had consumed up to that point in my life had white people as the central characters. And the shows and other media that I consumed that had white women at the central characters often had black women as the side characters. These black women's role in these movies was to assist the white women, support the white women, advise the white women, but never to rise above the white women. Even shows that were about black women, like The Help, had white women as the central character and the black women as supporting characters. So I internalized the idea that black women were there to support me and to advise me, but not to rise above or become better than me. And that's why when this black teacher was way better and more talented than me, I felt some kind of way about it. Now, I'd imagine lots and lots more white women have also internalized the same idea, and that's why they feel okay stealing black women's content and not giving them any credit, because the black women are just there to advise them anyway. But most black women are natural leaders. Society has forced them to become leaders, and so we need to step aside and let them lead. Even if it means checking our privilege and letting them lead us.
What is the pet to threat pipeline? Pet to threat is a term coined by Dr. Keisha Thomas to describe the experiences of Black women at work. She says a lot of Black women in modern times go from the pet, the token, look, I love this person, see, I'm not racist, I have a Black worker, until that Black woman is really good at her job. And then she is a threat. Because nothing threatens the system of white supremacy more than seeing a non-white person excel, especially if they're also a woman, because that threatens patriarchy. And then any kind of social mobility threatens classism. So you have all these three major systems being like, suppress the Black woman. So Dr. Keisha Thomas has done a lot of work on this. I see people talk about this pet to threat a lot on here because I think it is something that resonates with a lot of people. However, this theory is specific to the experiences of Black women. I think it's relatable to a lot of people because of the unwritten rules of work, the things that I talk about, that you get to a certain level and you start violating these norms, and that makes them not like you anymore. Particularly the unwritten rule of compliance, which I've talked about a lot on here. But it's different from pet to threat, and what distinguishes pet to threat to me is that the Black woman is used in like a professional fetishization of making the white person feel better about themselves for, oh, look at me, I'm so kind to this Black person. I am such a good boss. Until that person does well, and then it's threat. Something disturbing I've heard from Black women over and over again is how much white women at work feel this mandate that the Black women be their friends. That's insane. Like, one of y'all has commented on my videos that your boss makes you hang out with her outside of work because she complained that you weren't a team player. And I've heard about stuff like this in my research. Like, I shit you not, one research participant told me about her white coworker. She was an engineer, so she was a racial and gender minority in her workplace. One of her coworkers, like, really wanting to know where she lived. Like, they were all up in her business. And I shit you not, as I was writing that chapter, I was at a local writing group in DC, and I was chatting with a Black woman who was there, and I didn't really know her that well. We were just both in the writing group, and she didn't know what I was writing, and she was telling me about how, like, ongoing in her life right now, someone was following her home from work just to know where she lives, like knocking on her door and being like, you live here? And she was like, yes. And she was telling it like laughing, and I was like horrified. The obligation that some people feel to these women's bodies is revolting. Oh, I do think that white people are absolutely jealous of Black people, specifically with the community, and also with like fashion and music and everything else that is appropriated. But by design of what whiteness is, it inherently lacks community. And I think we're absolutely jealous of that. And I've heard biracial people say that they do see that difference in their own families. Because in addition to European cultures being more individualistic than cultures from Africa, South America, and indigenous North American cultures, the invention of whiteness in America erased a lot of ties to actual culture. So when I say like white people, Black community, I'm not talking about like Polish people or German people or Irish people. As I explain in my book, I just wrote the intro and I'm working on the conclusion today. Y'all keep me in your prayers. In the course of human history, white is a relatively new term. As we discussed in the introduction to this book, white is a North American term emerging from the 1600s as a term to justify the enslavement of Africans and squelch revolts from poor Europeans and indentured servants. Before this term, Europeans would identify with their nationalities. The Irish, Italians, Germans, French are all very different cultures. Thus, there is not the same communal tie to whiteness as there is for people from other communities. Further, since white was created to be a divider, a separator, it is not a happy identity. It is not something people want to admit they relate to. It doesn't have a rich, healthy history. Speaking as a white American who has conducted national level research on white Americans, we tend to say things like we have German, Irish, Italian, etc. ancestry, even if we have never been to those places. This is because all white Americans have ties to immigration, and because these identities are actual cultures, they do not have roots only in oppression. Now, we know who started colonization, right? So this is the book I'm trying to finish by Monday and send to the editor. There's a free chapter in my bio if you're interested on one of the unwritten rules of work. The book is predominantly about class, but I talk about 3 other identities that you can't talk about class without talking about these other identities, and race is absolutely one of them.
I'm a racist in recovery. If you haven't seen me before, hi, my name's Janelyn. I have been talking about how I was born and raised in the deep South, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, raised to be a racist, and how I've been dismantling that for the last 15 years. If you like this content, give me a follow. If you have any comments or questions, please put it in the comments. I will respond to it. If you have any particular topics that you want me to talk about, leave those in the comments. Let's talk about white privilege. I think a lot of white people don't want to accept this concept. I get it. I get why. Like, I'm thinking, I don't have white privilege. I haven't had anything handed to me. I've worked for everything I have. I have worked my ass off, and life has not been easy. I've been through a lot of shit. I get that. But what white privilege is not, it's not having your life handed to you on a silver platter. It doesn't mean you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It doesn't mean that you haven't worked really hard. It doesn't mean that you haven't experienced loss or failure. It doesn't mean that you haven't had significant obstacles to overcome. It simply means that the color of your skin did not add to those struggles. And I think this goes hand in hand with recognizing and admitting that we have systemic racism or racist laws, racist practices in this country. Because if you can understand that there is racist laws or racist culture, then you can understand why, as a white person, you would have white privilege. You are not subjected to those racist laws. I'm just hoping that somebody will see this and just understand a little bit better that the concept of white privilege, or you admitting that you have white privilege, does not negate any hard work that you've put into your life, and it doesn't negate your struggles or what you had to do to get where you are. It just means that people of color have another barrier in a lot of ways. I invite comments on the topic. I would love to have a dialogue with anyone that's interested in this conversation. Just leave it in the comments and we can certainly talk about it more. I'm a racist, formerly a racist. Thank you, T, for asking this question and specifically asking me to do a video. If you haven't seen me before, my name is Janelyn. I have been talking on this app about how I was born and raised in the Deep South, raised to be a racist, and how I've been breaking that down for the last 15 years. I've also been specifically asking for people to let me know if there's certain topics or things they want me to touch on. So I wanted to respond to T here. I don't think I was taught to hate you as much fear you. And I think that plays into fearing black men on top of that. As a woman, I do think that men can be a threat to us. Not that we need to walk around scared all the time, but we do, have to be cognizant of that. And so once you are being told black people hate you, they're dangerous, they're criminals, they're in gangs, and then you layer on top of that being a 5'1" woman, it's just like that automatic connection of black men. Combine those two things is like the most dangerous. I don't ever feel unsafe with black men. If I'm at the gas station or at a kid's event or at the park, I'm probably not overly concerned with my safety most of the time, but I definitely don't have that same reaction if I see a black man in my space. Yeah, definitely not from the color of their skin anymore. To just more pointedly answer the question, I think it was I was taught to fear black people, and then also learned
that men can be a threat. So when you put those two things together, it was like the ultimate threat. And that's something that I've definitely had to work through and just like remind myself over the years, if I am in a situation where I see a black man and I do have some type of reaction in my head, to be like, what is that based on? Where does that come from? Have you ever had any interaction where that was true? And just like kind of talk myself down. I hope that helps kind of understand it a little bit better. Obviously, not saying any of this is right, but when you come from this background where it's been ingrained into you, just trying to like understand it and pull those layers apart and break it down. I'm just trying to show like the truth of that progression. If anybody else has a topic they want me to touch on, let me know.
Every single white person who lives in a predominantly white country has white privilege. Now stay with me to the end of this video so I can break it down for you guys. What it is, what it isn't, and some examples. White privilege does not mean you automatically have an abundance of opportunity in the traditional sense, or you have an automatically easier life. However, what it does mean is because you are a white person in a predominantly white society, you have societal benefits and privileges and preferences. You will be looked upon for jobs as the more desirable candidate, even though your brown or black counterpart may be equally as talented, if not more as you. You will be less likely to be stopped and searched. You will be less likely to be followed around in a store. You will be less likely to be stereotyped. You will generally be given the benefit of the doubt more, and you will have preferential treatment over your brown and black counterparts. And this is what white privilege is. Not that you have loads of privilege and you're a privileged person. It's just that in comparison to your non-white counterparts, you will have an easier ride. And a lot of this comes down to our country being built on so much colonialism and racism and as it is. And what you've also got to understand is there's something called unconscious bias. So we all have an unconscious bias, and what this means is we resonate with people and connect with people who look like us, who think like us, who have similar tastes and values and in culture. And because of this, what tends to happen, especially when 3% is BAM and the rest of the country is Caucasian and white, there tends to be a big imbalance that happens, which is evident when you look at statistics. So it's not like you asked for it, but you were born with it. So when you see it being used unfairly, it's your responsibility to call it out. And that's all I'm saying, and that's all I wanted to say on this subject.
Video, and I am going to ask something. Why is it that when a black person supersedes what they expected or their expectation, you become aggressive? Because last I checked, when you look around, you and I will know that black women are the most educated in the United States. And I am sure she has never come in contact with any black person. But you and I know how jealous they are. Am I going to start with a workplace? Because obviously you can see, thank goodness, Harmony, I think her name is Harmony. Yeah, the Harmony in Harmony. Shout out to her. She actually broke it down. Even at workplace, black people were not safe anywhere. And you also saw a video of a white woman saying that when she started work, she has black woman and other people, but that woman was exceptionally good. And she was, I don't know how to explain it, but one thing I wanted to know is that they are never comfortable when it comes to black success. That's why when you see black woman talk about her experience at work, they know what they are saying. And the truth is that white women are also, or white people are also confirming it. White women are exceptional when it comes to their duty. They do it amazingly great. But why would you be great at your job as a black woman? This is what a white woman would ask, or a white person would say. Why would you be that great? And then before you know what it's going on, it becomes a problem. Before you know what's going on, your name goes to the HR every week. Maybe you don't talk to them. When you talk, you are aggressive. When you show concern, everything is problem. The microaggression that comes even from that office, because they know how to do it well. And then they expect you to be at their, it's really crazy how I don't know why they expect so much from Black people, but never give anything. That is how crazy it is. Black women are aggressive. When you bring this woman out in real life now and ask her some questions about Black women, trust me, she doesn't know anything about a Black woman. She just cannot stand Black woman, actually, because she has what it takes to be with a Black woman. They are scared of Black men. They are scared of Black women. So it's crazy. But then let me say this. Like the woman that talked about how, they were asking her, how do you people, you guys are always scared of Black men? Because this is something I really do not understand. It's just like a living, I don't know, these people have lived with Black people for how many decades? And still, you get this stereotype of they are scared of Black men. Where is that even coming from? Because that is so weird. And then the woman talked about gang and all that, when the real gang is them. See, I am not saying this because I want to make anybody happy, but check. The KKK, Klansmen, all of them. The gang, you don't even want to talk about it. But then everything is all Black. Everything. I saw a video, I think yesterday, about a man. They were asking him, what do you like about white people? He said that everything they blame Black people for, that they also do it. Just like the way they say Black people they have that, they even do worse. And he talked about which one? That when it comes to fraud, that this was what he said, that they are very smooth. But the stereotype, it will always look for, everything is Black people. Every damn thing is Black people. You will never get a break. You will never get a break. Because if they could blame you for something you know nothing about, for something you know nothing about the pupil of this man, and they decided to see, there is nothing they will not blame you for. Even when you blink, they will blame you for it. So I know, you see this jealous of a thing, I know about it, and I don't need to be told. I've been in this space for so long not to know. Bye for now.